All right, welcome to the Sci-Fi Express Lane. Jeff Carroll. Kind of want to talk about something that is a subject that keeps popping up, and I actually don't think I talked about it before. And it's a sci-fi question. It's a paranormal question. It's a horror question. The question is, where do we go after we die? The question is, where do we go after we die? It's a religious question. It's a big, man, it might be one of the most popular questions. Like, what's the other question? Is there life in outer space or whatever? This is probably bigger than that question. So anyway, let me start it off. My name is Jeff Carroll. I'm a science fiction writer, award-winning filmmaker, comic book creator, and all of that. So this is my deep dive into things that I talk about at comic book conventions, at comic book stores, and just in general, things that I talk about. Even if I'm talking to family at Thanksgiving, I may do a little video about it. Anyway, where do we go after we die, right? I was talking about this with somebody at the comic book store. You know, it was one of the gentlemen at the comic book store, shout out Juan, is a real deep Christian. He's a Bible toter, right? And I have respect for that because he goes in deep. But he's real, everything is Christianity for him. And I don't have a problem with that. Let it guide you. I have a friend that's like that, you know, about Islam, you know, and everything is Islam. You know, you say anything, there's not much you can talk about, and it does come back to that, right? So I have no problem with that. However, I think, you know, outside of religion in general being a belief, I think there are things that are really up for our speculation. There are things that are up for our interpretation, and I think sometimes they move more culturally than they move religiously, right? And why I say that, I think when it comes to like black science fiction, I do think there's Christian science fiction, and there's other energies, of course, different cultures, Asian, there's Western sci-fi, so I definitely get all of that. But I think those are important to recognize in terms of their variations, because I think their variations speak to something different. And I think why I like black science fiction and why I like diversity in answers, or why I like black science fiction, is because I like diversity in answers, especially with things like, you know, is there life in outer space, or where do we go after we die? I want to hear all the different cultures' answers and speculations on that, and I want to hear them amongst themselves. Like, one of the other things that sparked this conversation was a black editor, Cherie Renee Thomas, cool friend, person I met, man, a couple of times, but we have a lot of interactions on social media. She's an editor and a writer, right? I met her, I believe, a writer before she was an editor. I never know, I just didn't know she was an editor. But she edited a book called Afterlife, right? And I believe it's out now. I haven't moved to get it yet. I know I'm going to get it. It's on my list, but it ain't going nowhere. So whenever I get to it, I'm going to get it and check it out. But one of the things I had asked her was, I love the concept of Afterlife, and talking about having writers join in on a conversation about where we go after we die. But I asked her, being, you know, of course, being a person I met through the black science fiction world, was it a black anthology? You know, one, I'm a reader probably first. So I love to read these different things. And then I'm a writer. So I want to know, for me as a reader, is it this room where black people getting down, talking about black speculation on where we all go after we die? And two, sheesh, I would have loved to have submitted for something like that, because I think I got a story that fits the bill. Anyway, and she said no, it was open to everybody. So that means it's multicultural. And that's, different for me, because again, I think we have heard, Western answers to that question. We're a little bit low on the Asian answers, but I'm familiar with it. They got countries where they produce their own stories, and they got it out. The one that I don't really see that much is my tribe, right? Is the African American tribe, the diasporic tribe, the tribe from Caribbean, from probably even in England, right? In South Americas. I don't know, the tribe of people that have been mixed with the Western concepts and had their African roots bleed through those Western concepts. That's the tribe I like to see. And I also like to see the African perspective, specifically the sub-Saharan African perspective, mostly because that's my tribe and that's my rooted tribe, but also because I think it is underprivileged, right? In the sense that we, I have no problem saying that I want an LGBT book. I want a book with female writers, because we know those are underprivileged communities. But in addition to them being underprivileged, why is it important? Shoot, there's a lot of underprivileged communities, but people don't always want to hear from them. I think the LGBT community has a unique perspective. They are unique in their approach to gender and sexuality, so that makes them very interesting, right? And then the female perspective, I think they have another perspective that is not, is not represented. So how they see things from the female energy. We have a male-dominated world, or at least culture, right? And seeing those perspectives are really cool for us to see those perspectives, and then and black perspective, right, falls in that. They got culture, on their side, whole lot of other things, right? So I like that perspective as well. But that said, let me jump in, right? When I think of the black perspective, or where do we go when we die as a black person, however you want to say it, it's a conversation that I think everybody should be interested in, because where do we go after we die impacts where we live. I mean, how we live. I was raised Christian, and the threat of hell guided many Christians' life. Why do you do good? Shoot, I don't want to go to hell. You do bad, he'll tell you, go to hell, right? I have a comic book that I'm promoting now for the last 20-some days called Hellmonic Streets. And they're a story about two demons from hell, right? And or two demons, right? Which usually they come from hell, right? And I've been talking about this as recently as yesterday. I think my answer is something on the lines of what you see in the movie Avatar with joining Awa, right? Or the ancestral plane, joining that, right? Or going there. I don't necessarily believe in a hell concept anymore. I just don't think it makes logical sense, and for that, I ruled it out. I used to like to listen to right-wing radio, or not really, I don't know if you call him right-wing. He evolved out of that title. He didn't like the confined programming thought that right-wing, that the Tea Party was bringing to it. So there was a guy named Michael Savage, and he used to close his show by saying, An atheist that does good is better than a Christian who does good just to get into heaven. And I thought, wow, that is so profound. Wow, it's like Mr. Magic always saying persistence overcomes resistance every time. These people, these DJs have these nice little calling marquees that are really profane. Michael Savage had the best one. An atheist that does good is better than a Christian who does good just to get into heaven. Why do I think that's so profound? Because I think doing good is, without trying to get into heaven, is genuine. And I think, when it comes to the Bible and its tools and its guidance, it's not saying, you need to do these things. I want you to do these things to get into heaven. No, he wants, the Bible wants you to do good just because it's good, I guess, I like to say that it's healthy, it's logical, but that's why I do good. I don't want to do good for any type of expectation. Now, do I have expectations when I do good? You're damn right. I want people to appreciate it. Now, it doesn't stop me from doing good, but it may stop me from doing good to that particular person. If you don't appreciate it, this ain't got nothing to do with the afterlife. I'm not going to do bad to you, but you better believe I'm not going to keep being nice to a person that either doesn't appreciate it, and God forbid, they're mean to me. I'm not killing them with too much kindness. I might do it once, but I'm not doing it over and over again. So to me, that's a factor. I am writing a world now where I have to answer the question to a deeper level. When I was young, I thought about overpopulation and souls. Now we have these clones, technology, and that's becoming reality, right? So when I first saw Avatar with the blue people, James Cameron joined, I wondered where these souls were coming from. And they didn't really make a Frankenstein. They just made a body that you could live in. But the body was still alive, and it was a soulless body. What? And it raised the question as, that I had from when I was little. If we had 1 million people on the planet, where do the souls come from for the 8 million people that we now have on the planet? I get resurrection, I get reincarnation, all those different things, but are they pulled from another planet? Are they pulled from outer space? Where are these extra 7 million souls coming from? Are they taken from animals that are now extinct and we don't, so is there a cap? If we make more humans, does that mean there are less ants, right? If we were all the souls of an ant before, I have no idea. So that's an area that I'm speculating, and I'm gonna come up with an answer to it just for my universe that I'm creating. But it's an interesting question. So again, my personal belief for now is that, yeah, I do believe in reincarnation. I do believe in the ancestral plane. I do accept Awa. I don't accept hell or whatever. I think you could be reincarnated on another planet, right? So those are my things. I'm throwing that out because it was a really cool conversation. I would love to hear your answer. I'm gonna check out Miss Thomas's book that she edited, Afterlife, and if you got an afterlife story you want to recommend, put it in. The comic book I'm reading is called Ancestral Recall. I don't think it deals with reincarnation, but it might deal with afterlife. So that's something that I'm checking out. But other than that, that's it. All right, y'all. This is Jeff Carroll, Sci-Fi Express Lane. Out. Remember, like, subscribe, share, and comment. Deuces.